I'm sorry. The person you called cannot be reached now.
Let me ask you a quick question. Do you think Trump puts turmeric in his self-made tanner to get that glow? Or do you think it's natural?
You know how I met Ashley? True story.
Gay chat room. It's called Gay Date. J Date.
And right.
I was the bouncer there.
And we actually had the same therapist, and he walked out.
Oh my God,
and he
that's
walked into the
right.
wrong room because he left his keys in the chair.
As
You know
usual.
how you have those two doors, one therapy office
Yeah.
you leave, and when you come in, all of a sudden he walks out the wrong door. And yeah, I want to welcome everybody to LK for Everyone. That's LK, the number 4, EVERY, the number 1. That's how you find us on Twitter, Facebook, American Greatness, YouTube, all those fine things. You could also find their shows a couple days later on Larry's favorite site in the world, Freedom Watch,
USA.org.
USA.org. And
That's the LK. I was like, LK, is it like Love Kills or something? I was like, and then I was like, oh, Larry Klayman, of course.
and let's welcome a person that's going to be a regular contributor to this brilliant thing we call Larry Klayman for Everyone. That's Ashley Hamilton. Ashley is a lot of different things, but one of my favorite things that he's one of the greatest songwriters. He's written one of my favorite songs, co-written one of my favorite songs. It's called Come Undone, and it's performed by Robbie Williams. And if you haven't heard this song, go to YouTube and do Robbie Williams Net Worth. That's how you pronounce it?
You're live at Network.
Live at Net Worth. And it's like 7 minutes, and it's incredible.
Should I slip
Larry.
you that 20
Yeah,
now
we've
or
got
after
45
this?
minutes. Let's play.
We don't own the rights, and it's just one of the most incredible songs you'll ever hear about what Los Angeles is and addiction and all those different things. And it's just an incredible song. And I'm not saying that because he's sitting across from me. You could ask my girlfriend, who can't be on camera, because she has to work outside of this business. But anyways, one of
You mean inside this business?
she has to work inside this business, and
monkey business.
We're the ones actually working on the outside.
on the
of
outside,
this
right?
business.
That's exactly right, and it's terrifying. You know, I'm getting a new hat, and I'm not joking. It's going to say "Always bet on orange." And I want to see how many, because Trump is orange, and I want to see how many. I want to see how many people actually get that.
He's orange because his hair is orange?
No, because of the light bulbs.
Stuck to any party. I'm not a right or left guy. I'm just who's the best candidate at the time and what party is practicing the best principles at the time, you know? I think too many people get stuck and hung up on that, you know?
Well, that's true, but look where we are today.
No, of course. But like, unfortunately, I wish everybody got the same amount of time, everybody got the same money, you know, like, but you can only get in under 2 parties, you know, and that's really like, I might have said this before or not, I don't know, but like, that's kind of the illusion of freedom that you're like, all right, like, I hate party A, screw party A, I'm going to party B. God, Party B really sucks. You know what? I'm going back to Party A, you know?
Right,
and
it's the National Football League with the American and National Conference.
Correct. And a lot of the same lobbyists.
They have
and the
one
same-
thing in common: they're both corrupt.
You see that?
and it's so funny because it's so hard to escape any of this, because as I woke up this morning watching Fox Business, which is one of my favorite shows because it's not really a political show, it's about money, and it's hosted by this guy named Stuart Varney, who's a Brit, and it's just a great show, and you can't escape. You know, I turned on to Fox News for a second, and if you were to turn on Fox News today or for the next 3 weeks at 10:15 in the morning and at 8:15 at night, the same person will be on TV, bloviating from the Congress, and nothing is literally getting done. And it's just I'm tired. It's just tiring.
Yeah, and what's disappointing, we've talked about it before, is that, and disgusting, is that they're enjoying this. It's boosting ratings, advertising dollars. It's the greatest thing for the cable news networks.
How many years do they spend, though, on Russian collusion? Three.
Almost 3.
And what was the amount of money in that? Was it like $30 million?
$45
or something?
million.
$45 million. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how come they're not being sued for wasting all that time and taxpayers' money? It just goes on, just to the side and on to the next. You know.
Yeah, in fact, in a court case, if you file a frivolous case, you get hit for attorney's fees, which is in effect what that would be.
Yeah.
But the congressmen take care of themselves, and the powers to be in Washington take care of themselves. And that's what, unfortunately, is destroying the confidence of the American people in government,
Well,
among many other things.
That's one of the biggest things, though, is it's so funny what Trump's in trouble for, whether it was for quid pro quo or whatever. The amount of money that we spend, it's like credit card companies every year, right? I think they allot, $10 to $20 billion in fraud. They know going into the year that $20 billion will have gone to waste. But there are private companies. The American government can't function on, we know if we give Puerto Rico $18.5 billion for hurricane relief, $7 billion will be squandered. That's our money.
Well, one of the reasons the insurance companies don't care is because they're state regulated. So their fees, their tariffs are based upon what they spend.
Yeah.
That was what happened years ago with AT&T when it had a monopoly. I was in the trial team that helped break up AT&T at the Justice Department during the Reagan administration. No one could figure out their rates, their tariffs. They just kept increasing. So the government decided to break them up and create competition, among different companies. But the insurance companies have a monopoly. It's the strongest lobby in Washington, that and the drug industry, big pharma.
Yeah.
And is going?
No, go. I mean, it's
it's frightening, and it's it goes to show you, it's just like it goes to your whole thing with the revolution, right? That it's bound to that we're in line.
We are in a revolution right now. We just don't know it, basically, because it hasn't ignited. This gets to something we were talking about in terms of certain protests last week. Thank God there wasn't violence, but we're on the cusp, I think, of a lot of violence in this country from left and right. In the streets.
And it's funny, I speak to a lot of people who work in the streets, and they say too that they feel that they've never felt this much tension in their lifetimes, and that's a fascinating thing from people who work out in the community constantly, and they're saying that's what we feel.
Let me give you one example. I see it every day, and this is why, my shtick, so to speak, are federal judges. And that's the problem. We're going to have a seminar sometime later this year on ways to choose judges other than political patronage. But federal judges, who are supposed to be our protectors against the tyranny of the government and ourselves, are chosen because a senator recommends them to a president, or the president picks them himself, through his advisors. How do they get to be chosen? Based on, generally speaking, political campaign contributions and other perks. And many of the big law firms, for instance, in Washington, have their former partners on the bench in Washington, D.C., as one example. But these federal judges, by and large, are political hacks. They don't like it when I say that. I get retaliated against for saying that. But I have to tell the truth, because we've got to clean the system up.
Yeah.
But just today, I represent an African-American policeman from Dallas, who I was talking to you about earlier, Ashley, who saw his brothers massacred in that massacre about 2 years ago. That was inspired by a disciple and committed by a disciple of Louis Farrakhan, and incited by Black Lives Matter, New Black Panthers Party, others. I brought a case. It wound up in front for him against Farrakhan, Black Lives Matter, New Black Panthers Party, Sharpton, and others. An African-American judge, Clinton appointee, dismissed the case. Then I recently brought a case for him because he was defamed by the Dallas Morning News. And they made up all this stuff that his foundation, the Dallas Fallen Officers Foundation, was not properly spending money that they were raising for the families. It was total bullshit, because they hate him, because he challenged the establishment. He challenged the black establishment, the police establishment in Dallas. He's now running for Congress in the Dallas area. A judge, another African-American judge named Ada Brown, even though I am licensed to practice in Texas, said I had to have local counsel to do it. I've never had to have local counsel there, ever, to do it for 20 years. Wow. And we then asked her, because there are a number of motions to dismiss pending by the Dallas Morning News and other defendants, if you're not going to allow me into the case, Larry Klayman, then give my client, Demetric Penny, that's his name, enough time to find another
It's a very
lawyer.
interesting case. It's a very. Yeah,
let me get to the point. I know I'm rambling here.
That's okay. ramble
She
on.
issues an order today, say, no, she's not going to let Dimitri Penny have time to find another lawyer. Too bad. Right? Now, why is that? Because she obviously despises Dimitri because he's considered to be an Uncle Tom, a house N. He went against his so-called people. Not really, because his people generally are not like Black Lives Matter or the others.
And his people wear blue.
Yeah. And this kind of retaliation, this kind of politics, I see it every single day in cases. And that's what's, in my view, the most frightening thing about what's going on in this country. And I say, if revolution breaks out, I say this figuratively because I don't want it to happen, obviously, but the first to be taken to the guillotines will be the federal judges.
Yeah.
That's Larry's wish list. And
Have you seen the injustice get worse over your time of being a lawyer?
Much worse. And, you know,
it's interesting that you say this because Larry, who
Judah jokes with me about this,
And
he claims I'm negative.
No.
Sorry, I called you she.
That's okay.
does Pablo at night.
It's debatable. And but
In today's world, you don't know.
Larry was joking that Larry's had horrific experiences of being blackballed for many years. And, sometimes he could be a little, I don't want to say pessimistic, but you've been through the mill and back, and he's met all these people. He's met all the, the people on Fox. He's known these people and he's met these people. But it was funny. Larry was telling me that he one time got to be asked to speak at this thing called the Optimist Society or this
Optimist Club.
There's this club out there called the Optimist Club, and I said that's like bringing an alcoholic in to speak to a guy drinking and to speak at an AA meeting.
They had 10 points to how to be an optimist, and I added one point from a former marriage. My ex-father-in-law that said, appreciate today because tomorrow is going to be even worse.
So getting back to that, Ashley's question, how long have you been practicing law?
42 years, even though I look like I'm only about 35.
And you were in the Justice Department and you were in the Justice
Department. I started
Department
in Miami, Florida with a litigation law firm, Blackwell Walker Gray. I went to the Justice Department, went out with a private international trade law firm.
But how bad has it gotten since 1982?
It's unbelievably gotten worse. And in 1994, when I started Judicial Watch, it was bad enough. That's why I started it, watching judges. And then it morphed into using judges to watch the other two branches of government. But it is so corrupt. The legal system is so inherently corrupt. And I'm one of the few lawyers. I think I'm the only lawyer that will take it on, because lawyers know that when you do that, you get retaliated against.
Yeah.
By the judges and by others.
There's a great quote, though, that goes, adversity makes a man, prosperity makes monsters. You know?
And it's frightening. I don't know, it's frightening. Just I know it's frightening having to be careful. Like, when did we have become so careful as a society? When did this having to be careful?
Well, of what you say.
Of what you say.
Of pronouns.
Of any, you can't say anymore, I believe in this, I believe in that, everything. You have to preface everything.
But if you don't confront the truth, you can't make the change. So people that know have to speak out, like our founding fathers did. We've talked about that too. That's what triggered the American Revolution and created.
But how do
a
you
new
do
nation.
that in a time where you have a certain percentage of somebody running the media and nobody's getting real truth and it's all spun? Like, how does that happen?
It's a great question.
That's the importance of this show. That's
question.
the importance of my radio show, Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman, that you guys have been on. And other alternative media. You have to use what you can. And in the days of King George III, they didn't exactly they didn't rule the school. So it was the printing press and pamphleteers that really influenced the thinking of the colonialists to cause them to coalesce and to come around the vision of our founding fathers.
Do you think from the founding fathers and the way the law was created is actually a fantastic thing if it's not corrupted? Like, does it work great, or is there chinks in the armor?
Well, it's never worked great. It's just gone from bad to worse. That's it. And because we are men, we're a country of men. John Adams said we should be a country of laws and not men, but unfortunately we've been a country of men and women, and that helps explain why Hillary Clinton is above the law. It's just one example.
Yeah, you can't use those pronouns.
Or
them babies.
Yeah.
No. It's interesting to hear from someone like
Or
yourself.
we're a country of shim.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No, it is. You're completely right, because it's, when you have academia, when you have Hollywood, and when you have all this different media, and this isn't that are peddling out there some of this stuff that we can't share. It's how do you? It's very. I mean, and I really do believe this is what their goal is.
Well, yeah, and that's the whole thing, right? If you want to control somebody and control someone's behavior, what do? You control their perception, and if you control their perception, then you control their behavior. So the perception is all through the media and movie industry and all this stuff.
And you program their mind.
Correct.
So you're brainwashing people.
Predictive
That's in
programming.
fact what goes on. That's what Hannity tries to do from the right.
Yeah.
And that's what Mario Cuomo's son, Chris Cuomo, does from the left, or worse than that, Don Lemon.
Yeah.
So you know what
People like that.
you know what the worst about like hanging out with Atlanta, and I don't say this in a bad way with Larry, like I lose all hope sometimes. And I don't mean that in a bad way necessarily. It's like, because I'll watch Hannity or some of these shows going, and then I'll be on the phone with Larry and he goes, nobody's getting indicted.
Have I ever been wrong?
No, and he hasn't been wrong. And it's like, and I'm like, he hasn't been wrong one time.
I agree with
and
him.
he's 100% right. And I watch these shows where you're like, oh my God, tomorrow this report and that report and
it's wrestling, bro. WWE, WWF, whatever it is.
It's like literally you could have these people at the scene of the crime. And nothing's
well,
gonna...
and that's what amuses me when I watch TV. You have these commentators, these consultants that are paid by the cable news networks, and I've been through this for at least the last 25 years, and I see how it works. And they're all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and gee, isn't this great? We have this impeachment proceeding, and we're going to go there, and we're going to get to go on TV. And in the beginning, it was a thrill for me too, but it's results that count. And when you see the government continuously covering things up, and that's why I started Judicial Watch and Freedom Watch. We are in effect, now at Freedom Watch, which is where I am, a private justice department, because we don't have a justice department. We don't have a legal system. And that's why we have citizens' grand juries, and we're talking about the people meting out justice peacefully and legally, because the government won't do it because it protects itself. It's a giant club in Washington and elsewhere around the country.
One of the things I like about you two guys, too, is you guys aren't mainstream by any metric of thought. But it brings me sort of, it's like, you both have raised with me some different issues that if you would have asked me 4 years ago, if you would have said, is that plausible? I would have said, you're out of your mind. And now, when you raise those same issues with me, I go, well, who knows?
Yeah.
We've been lied to. We have been, manipulated. And I'm not what you would call, quote, a fringe person. Anybody that knows me knows I'm not. I'm fairly... But
the problem is you don't know that you're a fringe person.
I don't, right. But I'm not on that, what you would consider that spectrum. But now when Ashley's on the phone, me telling me about certain things, I'm like, okay. If you feel comfortable with talking about those certain things, whatever you'd like. But I don't always, there is nothing I would put that I would say the government can't do anymore or hasn't done.
Well, especially stuff I'll talk about, and we're not going to dive into that, but like stuff I talk about, it's hard to deny when you have actual 100% proof, not just like eyewitness stuff or shots of them, but you actually have, components of chemical testing of what's in it right before your eyes. That it's like it doesn't lie. And so it's just difficult. It's very hard for people to comprehend certain things because we've been programmed a certain way to not comprehend that somebody could do something else than what the narrative is, and so that's the issue at hand. And so like we were talking about outside, I think we were going to get to is just like, we were talking about the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms. And like, I think Virginia, thank God it was peaceful. Thank God nothing happened. But I think, there was tension and a lot of I was worried for them, but there's 22,000 people, nothing happened. But, there are people just saying, well, they're just doing stuff that you guys have already in California. And I'm like, but they're trying to make a thing of it. They're trying to point out, this is what we're going to do here, in one of the most gun pro states in the world, an example of them, And so, they originally were like, okay, we're going to take all your assault rifles. Huge ban back back. Everybody kicked back. They realized they couldn't do that. So now they're like, okay, you can keep them, but you have to register them. And so my thing is like, where does that end, right? When you slowly start giving up certain freedoms, once you register them in a state that already says it renders that you can have them, then when can they start coming to take your stuff?
And that's been, what the NRA has fought against for many, many years is, give an inch, they'll take a foot. It's just the beginning.
And we know this to be the case. Whatever your views are on abortion, I'm not asking.
How do we go from guns to abortion?
Because it's gone. The biggest reason you have, first of all, to many people that are pro-life, it's they believe it for religious reasons. Some people believe it for science reasons. Whether you're pro-choice, you're pro-life. But it first started with just the first 3 months. Now you could do it at this time. Now you could do it at this time. So it's the same argument.
And now some states, like the government of Virginia, think it's okay to kill a baby after he or she is
just
born.
like your point with the gun is, at what point if we give him? Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, I agree with tougher background checks and all that stuff. Like, I absolutely, But the red flag warning is like, who can then they render that is a harm to somebody else or a harm to themselves, and who knows if they even need that at that point to come take your.
And here's an example. We talk about the president, who I love, and I know you like the president.
Me.
But the president sometimes has swallowed the Kool-Aid too. And right after several massacres, he's talked lovingly, so to speak, about having psychological evaluations of people. That's very dangerous. That's like the Soviet Union. You're going to let people evaluate you psychologically as to whether or not, through, by the way, Google and others who they have these profiles on people that they're going to work up to decide who can have a firearm to defend himself or not, because that'll eventually be used to take the guns away from people that the government opposes, that challenge.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And to lock them up.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I hate guns. I mean, being honest with you, I hate guns. But what is my hatred of guns?
Hey, you got big guns there.
Yeah, I wish. But what does that have to do with what you like?
So just a couple of things really quick. Like after World War, like World War II time, right around there was more guns per household than there is now.
But the way things are going with the Bernie Sanders of the world, I always want to call him Bernie Schwartz.
Same thing.
He changed his name. His father did, so no one would know he was Jewish, but he can't get away from that, obviously. But he is a communist, so he has something in common with Marx, who was Jewish. But in any event,
and Trotsky,
and Linsky, and all of the leftist brothers.
Yeah.
But
I can't.
With this push to socialism / communism, which is where we're going here, on the left, there's going to come a point in time in the not too distant future where people are going to be camped outside your house with guns or with clubs or knives, saying, "Turn your keys over. We want our piece of the pie. We want the reparations for all the harm you've done to us." And it's not just radical blacks who are suggesting reparations. It's radical gays and other groups that say, we have it coming to us. And how are you going to defend yourself when they come to take your house? And that's the reason. That's the reason.
I was thinking the same thing.
No, is Pablo going to join that crowd?
No. You're completely. I mean,
he'll be looting my house, but from inside the gate because he's already in there.
He won't even know. You won't even know that he did it.
And
my name is Pablo, and I approve this message.
But my last thing, on that was just like, if you look statistically at violence, I think it's like it starts with fist fight, fist, knife, then pistol, rifle being last.
I mean, these people are out of their minds. I mean, let's be real. The assault rifle is a gun grab. It's coming for our rights, and I am not. I'm a second rights advocate, and I love the Second Amendment. I hate guns for myself, but my opinions about what I like or don't has nothing to do with you. I grew up in Brooklyn when you'd walk to synagogue. I'm not joking. You'd walk to synagogue, you'd pass by this one restaurant called Genovese, right? And, a lot of Saturday mornings, it would be this, like, big Italian guy, just the stereotype, the wife beater on, and he had a gun on the side, and he was there for protection for the area.
Well, you need it. And
if every
But crime's lower in places like Arizona and stuff because everybody's
Florida.
packing.
that's right.
And most firearms that are used in crimes aren't registered rightful gun owners. So like like I said, I believe there should be background checks. I think that however they do them, and this maybe some gun stuff here, but like there's laws that say okay, you can only go buy a gun every 30 days at a store, but I can buy a gun from you privately here as many as I want. Yeah. Like so, you're just like, what? Why? Sometimes
I think
try to
they've
figure out
banned
the
it,
laws.
And look at Illinois and Chicago, where guns are banned, and how many murders are.
Yeah, they have
I know.
They have the
Chicago's-
toughest. They have the
toughest
toughest
gun
gun
laws.
laws
I
and the
know.
toughest food laws, and they have the worst murder. The worst one of the
Well,
worst
and-
murder rates and the worst foodborne
I'm all for
illnesses.
taking guns from criminals, like 100%.
But yeah, it's this isn't a matter of criminal thing. This is an elitist thing. Is really what it comes down to. Because if you really want to be pro-woman, do you know how many women live in the outskirts of outskirts where there's no police presence for many an hour? That if you're a husband and you got to be on the road for work or till the land or whatever you're doing, that your wife and family should be safe at home. That there are women that probably are shooting a lot better than many men that are living on the outskirts of these in Washington State or other places that should 100% be able to protect themselves with guns.
But that's the problem. It's the United States of LLC.
Yeah.
America's become a corporation, and we have a CEO now, and that's really the issue at hand. Is it possible ever for that to go back to not being so?
Well, and also when you neuter the police and you don't let them do their job,
Correct.
then you need to be armed to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened with Black Lives Matter and these other groups, that the police are scared to react because they'll be blamed. They'll be accused of
Terrified.
police
They're terrified.
brutality.
Yeah.
Yep.
And my brother in Philadelphia was a cop for a number of years, and he got off the beat. But basically, I can say it now. He's no longer with the department, but they were just cleaning up the mess afterwards because they weren't going to intervene.
Well,
You want to kill yourselves?
Yeah.
Okay, we're not going to get blamed for it.
Yeah. No, and it's a hard job because of the way society's becoming and laws they're imposing or not letting. It just gets to be a really tough place.
It's insane. This isn't First of all, there's a difference between the police, the policemen on the street that are in cop cars that are like literally
They work their asses
heroes,
off.
just absolute heroes to society. Every once in a while, but there's a difference between them and other agencies, and we like to lump everything together, But these guys are heroes, and they're being portrayed right now by certain people on the left as just being everything that's wrong with society, and that's frightening.
Well, because the left is largely anarchistic, and they don't want to be reined in. They don't have to obey the law.
Yeah,
they don't recognize the law. It's the law of the right, so to speak.
It's living with zero moral compass. And I'm not saying I have this superior moral complex or you do, but Bernie Sanders, and the squad and all these individuals, they literally live with zero more. The stuff that comes out of their mouth on a day-to-day basis, further to the left.
Well, that's true, but the problem is people want free stuff, and they don't want to have to work. There used to be a bumper sticker I liked in Washington. It used to say, "Vote Democrat. It's easier than working."
Don't get any ideas, Pablo.
That's a great joke.
Yeah.
That's a great line. But you're right.
There used to be a guy that sat on the street corner of K in Connecticut saying, with water pipes, he was selling that. He said, everything for the head of the house and the house of the head. And we become a drug culture, too. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I don't think we should have legalized marijuana.
Yeah, what is your opinion on that?
It's legalizing more.
And the reason I ask, by the way, I just want you to know, if anybody's opinion on this question, I trust. There's nobody's opinion. I mean this, that I trust more than Ashley's opinion on this.
There's many factors that go into that question, but say just for youth or even 21, right? Is it 18 or 21 to buy weed here? I don't even know the law on that, but just that, the brain's not fully functional to 25 anyway, right? So like already cognitive issues you're having with that. Like we see what, marijuana does long-term use to people and how it affects their mind. And unfortunately, stuff like alcohol, which is even worse, When somebody comes in, I've had to detox somebody. Like marijuana is a breeze to detox somebody from. It's still not easy compared to alcohol. You can't die from marijuana or even heroin or cocaine, but you can die from alcohol, detox of alcohol. And so you have these legal things that they that they decide is legal, and you just sometimes wonder why. But putting more stuff into people's brains, I just don't think it's the greatest idea right now. I don't think we need to be subdued.
No, and it's sad that people have to resort to that to try to get, quote, happy.
By the way, I'm right. I'm right.
That says a lot about what's happening, and
we're a spiritually dead culture.
Sometimes you just have to look at the bigger picture and wonder what's going on. What's the agenda going on here? Because it's not just random acts.
Well, that's guns.
That's
in the beginning. That was guns. No. But I mean, because if you applied for a weed card,
you can't get guns.
You can't get guns.
But now,
it doesn't matter.
But all I'm saying is, you look at all this stuff attached, and then you look at, okay, well, they're trying to get rid of pronouns in school. So what we're based on is the society they're trying to get rid of. But the thing is like, and then someone like Facebook or YouTube will come in and say, oh, you can't say that. We're going to take you down. We're going to make sure you're safe and take that person down. That's the beginning of it. See, people don't realize that it's not about those acts. It's about like Alex Jones. I'm not here supporting Alex Jones, but when you start taking people away, we'll protect you. We have it. Where does that end? Like you start taking people's speech away. Where does that end? And we all say yes to it and let it happen. That's what scares me.
And there are laws that protect against defamation. So if you go too far, as Alex has gone on occasion, he's paying the price.
I'm not supporting him in any way. I'm just saying.
The points you bring up, I agree with you 100. Listen, you're not.
I used to be on Alex Jones a lot. He went bonkers.
And you're not alone on this issue of even questioning or asking of what is the point.
Well, where does it end? Yeah. That's all I'm saying. And that's what scares me. And then now there's all these big things against pronouns and calling somebody the wrong thing, you get in big trouble. And so where is that just like beta testing to see? Okay, let's see how they
explain
react.
What beta testing is, by the way, because it's an interesting thing.
It's like tests the governments do to do certain things to see how people react. Let's say we shut down your power over here for 3 to 5 days and see how people react to it. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that's like an example of.
I just want to tell you something, whether you agree with that or you don't. Somebody when they raised that point to me, it wasn't the worst idea I'd ever heard in my life. That the government does these things called beta testing. See, I'm no longer that the government will shut down the power grid in certain areas to see how they react.
What was it, Agent Orange in Vietnam? You don't think they have experimented on us or do experiment on us? That's just one small example.
Well, they did with syphilis in the South with African American people.
Is that 100% proven?
Well, from what I've read, I don't know.
Okay, you didn't read it on the. You didn't read it on.
We also had eugenics here in the 30s.
Yeah.
Right, and that's where Hitler got the idea from, and that it's just like sometimes.
Margaret Sanger. Planned Parenthood. What was the reason for Planned Parenthood? This is one of the deities of the left. It was to reduce the number of black children. She was an ally of the Ku Klux Klan. So it was to, in fact, cleverly exterminate black people, yet the left worships her.
They worship Planned Parenthood, but want to take down statues that represent a past, a part of a past in our history, but they have no problem with the Planned Parenthood thing. And you know what it is? It's not that most of us want to be of the thing. Go do what you want. If you want to have a surgery and you're of a certain age and you want to, become a woman or a man. Sure. God bless you.
Absolutely.
Do whatever you'd like. If you want to go and live this way or this way, me personally. But
that's fine, but don't mess around with bathrooms and stuff.
The pushing on other people.
That's it.
That we have to believe what you believe. And I got to be honest, there's a certain part of the right in our country that did the same thing for an awfully long time too.
In what respect?
In what respect? Banning of music. Okay, the banning of certain types of movies.
But they're also making a society. You're talking about. Hold on, you guys jump and fight in a second. They're talking about 0.05 of a certain.
I don't even think it's that high.
Transgender, whatever, and so they're saying the other 95.5 has to say and do this and be okay with that.
Isn't it true in California you can go in and register what sex you are? You get to decide yourself.
There's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, isn't that the law now?
I think so.
it is.
There's like 23
Yeah,
categories.
you decide you're a male or you
No,
know,
it's
or
really
if you want to
the party of
benefit-
science. It's the party of science, except
Well, yeah.
except
But
when the
the-
science
Yeah.
is. I mean, it's just, and you know what? If somebody says to me, if somebody wants to argue with me, listen, I don't have children that I know of, right? So
Glad to hear that.
So, but if I
You
had
and Hunter Biden.
if I had
just had a court
if I had
ruling
a
he did.
if I had a child and you're allowed
Spit
to
it out, Judah.
you're allowed to ask certain things. Certain things are allowed to make you worry. Okay, they just are. You're allowed, but you're not allowed to ask. That's the problem. Is if you ask.
Do you know that I don't know if it ever got passed, but there was also a law that was proposed by the Looney Tune California legislature. I think it got passed. That if you're not sure if you're gay or straight, you can't go to see a psychologist or psychiatrist. That medical expert, doctor, psychologist, whatever, can be charged with a crime for trying to help someone figure out if they're straight and they don't want to be gay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that law exists now in California. So, I mean, it's
I mean,
unreal.
if that's like me saying, "Hey guys, I'm a little pony. Are you gonna like be
No,
okay?
it's-
Yeah, you're a little pony."
Let's be honest, okay? If you're not sure if you're straight or gay, wouldn't you rather be straight?
This is actually the next thing. This is actually.
hey,
This is.
I'm not.
just so you
I
know,
don't mean
this
that
is
as a knock. I'm
I
not a
just
homophobe.
want-
I'm saying,
No,
but isn't
no.
your life a lot easier?
I want to do this.
I don't-
You're on.
I know,
you're
you
on
don't have
this.
personal
But
experience.
this is actually what I want to talk about.
That was one time, and it was with Judah
This
to get on the show.
I actually want to talk about this in the next show, and so don't let me forget. It's this idea that's come into our society, and it happened a lot during the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, right? When you started to hear this thing, when people would say it was her truth, right? It's her truth. So it's not the truth, it's her truth. And there is no such thing as Ashley's truth. When it comes to certain, of course, your relationship with God, that's your truth. Your relationship with the world, that's your truth. But your relationship with the truth, if you did something, it's really, there's no...
Well, the thing with Kavanaugh, I don't like Kavanaugh for his views.
No, right.
Okay, I don't like the fact that he believes in mass surveillance. That's fine,
Yeah.
Things like that. But something happened with Kavanaugh. I don't think he raped anybody. I don't think he assaulted anybody. But the guy was a drunk.
I don't.
basically.
I honest to God don't believe in. You know what? This isn't Harvey. I don't defend Harvey Weinstein. I don't defend certain people. But you know what? There comes.
They were all drunk and they couldn't remember, so they made it up after the fact.
I honestly, there were 5 different people there. I'm not going to capitulate and go with the crowd. I don't believe a word that came out of that woman's mouth.
No, because
you know what? And I'm not saying this.
I don't either. But
So what? You
did
don't
he get a little
you don't
fresh?
like,
It wasn't a
yeah.
crime. It wasn't.
No, he never
it was-
even
it was-
met her.
It was 40 years ago.
Larry, he never met her. 4 of the people that she said were there that night of the party said the party never happened. So not only was it her truth, the people that she claimed were with her where this happened said it wasn't
and,
their
and
truth.
he didn't even use the Donald J. Trump defense,
and
which she's not good looking. I wouldn't have done
She's
it.
not right. That drives me crazy right now. And I got to be honest. You know what else drives me crazy? When people say they're intellectually honest. If they're intellectually honest, somehow that makes it okay. So since Bernie Sanders is intellectually honest, right? Socialism is okay because he believes in this in this crazy thing that has killed over 100 million people. That somehow he's being intellectually
Did you
honest.
say socialism or communism?
Communism
Yes.
and socialism.
Bernie
and fascism.
he's a communist. That's what he is.
But people say he's intellectually honest. Bernie speaks the truth. Hundreds of millions of people have died.
I don't hate Democrats, so Tulsi Gabbard, if you're listening.
Yeah,
I think she's kind of cute.
She's an attractive woman.
Tulsi Gabbard, who came out and is suing Hillary Clinton for
She's got a good presence to her.
How much
Yeah.
is she suing Hillary Clinton for?
I give her another 4 years. We'll see.
Yeah, she sued for defamation today.
She's-
But
I give her tremendous credit for doing it.
Yeah.
First politician, and Trump should do this, and others should do it more and more.
Not this election, but the next election, who's going to run? Pablo's friend, Gavin Newsom.
It's the most frightening thought in the world. That is the most
Pretty boy Gavin Newsom.
Let me tell you something. There is no shot in hell. I mean, he literally looks like he watched American Psycho and said, "You know what? I want to emulate somebody in life." Have you ever seen American Psycho?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you haven't, he literally dresses.
He's too impressed with himself. He's too slick. He makes Bill
Pablo's
Clinton
friendly,
look
though.
like a normal person.
Hey, don't talk too much about my friend.
Okay, he's
Pablo hung out with him a lot, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to know
You
where.
know Kimberly Guilfoyle
and
too?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where. And
It was a long time ago, but they didn't
Yeah.
use pronouns, those two together. That I can't say.
And yeah, but it's a little. I mean, Gavin Newsom, people like that. Maybe the great thing about
He's
people,
the governor of California.
Yeah,
for
he's
people
the
who don't know.
guy, Gavin Newsom. I don't think he's got a shot in hell of ever becoming president of the United States.
I disagree.
I'm on Larry's
disagree.
side with that.
Okay.
No, he's a good-looking guy, and he projects, okay, and American people, unfortunately, make decisions, many of them, on the basis of how you look. I mean, why can't you have a dwarf as a president? I mean, Buttigieg can never make it. He's 4 feet tall.
Yeah.
Quite apart from other things.
You're right though about Marco Rubio. I mean, Marco Rubio when he was on that debate stage. I mean, he little Marco. I mean, he, and that's you're right though. I mean, well, look at Tom Cruise, right? I mean, Tom Cruise always is right. Doesn't he wear a certain amount of height?
Yeah.
Well, he's not a politician. He doesn't have to be elected to anything.
Yeah, but you have to be looked at as an action hero. And we've totally gone off course.
Well, they shoot it from the ground up.
What I love about this,
This ad coming to you from Vyvanse.
Can I tell you something though? I'd rather be talking about this, and I think people would rather be talking about normal stuff or anything but what's going on the TV. Anything but if they turn on the news, if they turn on late. This is a true story. A friend of mine calls me last year, 2 years ago, or three. God, it's a long time ago. And she says to me, I'm so depressed before I go to bed, and I said, stop watching the news. And she's like, I'm not watching the news. I'm watching Kimmel. And she goes, all he's doing is like talking politics. So it's like you don't even have that anymore. You can't turn on CBS, ABC, NBC at 11:30 at night and just expect to laugh about the trivial. There is no, we can't.
What's funny is that years ago, I sold my life rights to Fox about doing a show like A Lawyer Like Me, because West Wing created this character, Harry Claypool of Freedom Watch. That's why I took the name Freedom Watch. And I was played by John Deal, and it was pretty accurate other than the fact that, they were poking fun at me from the left. And we sold that, and I was told, if we're going to actually get this pilot made, we have to try to put it on a human level, not so much politics, lifetime stories, real stories. Now, today it's the opposite, you see. Hollywood loves the politics as long as it's on the left, not on the right.
Interesting.
Harry Claypool.
I gotta say,
how many episodes were you in? So does it pay
3, and you can find some of those on our website at freedomwatchusa.org too.
I'm shocked, and we are running out of time. But I really whatever if it just sounds like I want people to banter again. I pray for the days again of where people post idiotic things on Facebook. Remember when you used to see all the people posting the stupidest stuff on Facebook and go, when will they grow up and stop doing this? When will they just I don't care about what your families are doing on
it's more
picnics.
from stupid stuff to death
Yeah,
threats.
that was like my mom last week.
I got to be honest, I miss that. I want to see picnics again. I want to see people doing this stuff and not everybody posting or
Hateful stuff.
stuff.
I took down Facebook
You're very smart.
last week.
It's still out there for Freedom Watch. I have still out there for me personally, but I never use it. I don't even look at it.
And it was running out of time, but I want everybody to go to American Greatness, amgreatness.com to find us, and or you can find us on LK, the number 4, the number 1. Also, you can find this on YouTube and all these other great Twitter and Facebook, even though none of us are on it, actually.
Find us hiding
I'm
behind
on
a tree.
Instagram.
I'm on Instagram, and just follow us, like us, hate us, but listen to us. And I'm not saying that so
Not to us,
form
but
your
with
own
us.
opinion.
Listen, form your own opinion.
Yes.
Really, that's
Form
the
your own
point. Is
opinion.
form your own opinion. We'll be back. I want to thank one of my favorite songwriters of all time, Ashley Hamilton, and one of my.
And he's an actor too.
He's
Here's
an
another
amazing.
20.
He's
Here's another 20.
And Ashley is not just an amazing actor. He's. I mean, I'm not just saying this, by the way. He's. I'm getting his whole wallet. And
Well, he's smiling and he's happy that we recognize
Yeah.
his
Dude,
greatness.
I know you like late nights watching this stuff alone.
And anyways, let's take a break for a couple minutes and let's do one more.
All right, let me
One
just
more.
Let me call my
It's
house.
early, by the way.
One
That was
more.
good. That was good.
But it was very good.